Welcome back to the Hawkins Do Copy podcast. My name is Ren.
And my name is Emily, and in this podcast we talk about all things Stranger Things.
Hello. Sorry that we've been gone. It has been a time. We have said before about like health related reasons, so we won't get too much into it. But honestly, it's been a time. So
It's been a hot minute.
It's been a hot minute. But because of that, and because we're sort of getting back into it today, we thought we would make this episode a little bit fun. And we think it'll be quite it's a different one. We thought of it one night because we were just randomly talking about random things to do with Stranger Things, because that's literally how we spend our time.
Yep.
And
are we surprised at this point though?
No. I don't know when it happened though. I don't know when we got to this point, but we're here, and I think we're here to stay.
We're just fully embracing it, unless season 4 really lets us down.
Please don't.
And then we will reassess.
Please don't. But so we started debating, and then we were like, hang on, wait, this could be a cool podcast. How could we make this a podcast situation? So we are in, as miserable as it is to say it, we are past the mid-20s point, which is really disgusting.
Absolutely.
To say out loud. However, that means that we lived through the peak YA fandom times. Like, we're talking... We did. Like, we lived in that little bubble of like vampire dystopian YA. Everything was being turned into movies. There were teams, there were people camping out in Leicester Square. I was one of them.
If any context, I went to school one day and I basically had a pet owl, and I was for a couple of days. When people realised that, I was quite the talk of primary school.
Yeah.
If that gives you some indication of eras, etc., etc.
Yes. I literally took a day off 6-1 once to go to the Breaking Dawn Part 2 premiere in Leicester Square.
I didn't do that.
So it was a time. I had a ridiculous amount
TM.
There were a ridiculous amount of t-shirts. There was a ridiculous amount of merchandise. It was young adult dystopian, wearing my hair in Katniss braids, Mockingjay pin, Team Jacob mania. When I saw New Moon,
like the worst expose.
When I saw New Moon in the cinema, they literally did it. So they said, separate yourselves. So the cinema split between Team Jacob and Team Edward. So like we were sat in the screen, intentionally divided. And this was like, do you remember the peak time when people would like cheer in the cinema? Because the only times it's happened since for me has been Marvel films. That's the only time I've seen it since. But there was like periods of time where like people would like make noise in the cinema.
Like end of Harry Potter's, you would get and applause.
Yes, like massively. And like I remember when the bit in New Moon when she gets to the fountain, and there's just like that really dramatic pause, which she wouldn't have done in real life if she was trying to save his life. And we are family friendly on this podcast, so I will not swear, but a girl that I went to school with stood up in the cinema screen and shouted, "Run, blank, run," in the dead silence of Bella being paused at the fountain.
I can only hear that in my head as "Run, Forest, run."
It wasn't Forest. It was a word that also begins with a B, like Bella, and has the same amount of letters as Bella, but was not Bella.
Oh, okay. Not Forest.
Not Forest.
Definitely not Forest.
But so that was the era that we lived through. We survived it. But we thought we would apply Stranger Things, which is the kind of one of the newer like fandoms. It's quite interesting to see teenagers now also enjoy Stranger Things, because it's like, I am now an adult, and like we were sort of the first, obviously like Beatles mania and that kind of thing, but our generation was kind of the first generation online to have that kind of fandom hype. Like we were the first kind of fandom era on Twitter and Tumblr, you know, because those websites, we were teenagers when those websites live journal, like we Bebo, like we MySpace, we were teenagers. DeviantArt. We were that generation, you know, that kind of lived through those websites being created, and arguably like we were the first lot that suddenly had more of a instant connection to celebrities, if you know what I mean. Like we would get we'd have Twitter, and then suddenly celebrities had Twitter, and it was like, oh my god, I could literally just tweet someone immediately, you know. I could be like at Taylor Lautner, Team Jacob. He never replied.
I did get a reply from Tom Felton.
Oh.
I did. I've told you this, haven't I? By the way, this does have a point, and we were.
Yeah, this does have a point. We're just yeah.
I had a tweet from Tom Felton because I was in the line for Harry Potter Part 2, the final one, and he was like, "Oh yeah, just show me these pictures of you all camping out." I was like, "I'm not camping out, but I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity." So I tweeted like, "This is the queue right now," because we had to wait for the wristbands. I think. And he was like, "Wow, it's looking busy and hot. Drink lots of water." And that is my interaction with Tom Felton.
To get text notifications. You remember Twitter text notifications?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this used to be a thing. You used to be able to get text. You used to be able to put people on tweet notifications and then text, get their tweets as a text. So that it was a time. So it's really interesting now to be still in fandoms, but to see how fandoms have also evolved, and then also there's now a whole new generation of teenagers and people that are enjoying things. So we thought we would take Stranger Things and mash it with the fandoms of our childhood. Our teenagers, and childhood teenagers.
So this is a weird Stranger Things X
YA
crossover. Before we actually eventually get into that, you can catch us on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, and Stitcher at Hawkins Do You Copy. And then you find us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Hawkins Podcast, and Tumblr and YouTube at Hawkins Do You Copy.
Well done.
Interact, join us, join our fandom.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through. We were talking about which ones we think could work. We have a few options.
We do.
A couple options. I think we're going to start with classic. So we'll start with Hunger Games.
Yes.
And with this one, we will talk about who would survive the Hunger Games.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to use throughout this whole thing, we're going to use the party, the six of the party, and then Steve, Robin, Nancy, and Jonathan, because we thought if we do every character, it would just be so long and ridiculous.
And also they wouldn't be able to enter the Hunger Games.
And they wouldn't be able to enter the Hunger Games because, yeah, exactly, they wouldn't be.
Unless it was a quarter quell.
Exactly. Some people might not even know what these words mean.
Read the Hunger Games.
The Hunger Games is phenomenal. Read the Hunger Games. So would they survive the Hunger Games? Shall we go through the party? I'm just gonna say from the get-go, sorry. Mike would not win the Hunger Games.
No, Mike would not survive the Hunger Games.
No.
I think he'd like to think he would survive. I think if he made it off the cornucopia, but then we have
he's not making it off the cornucopia.
But then we have seen like in moments within the show when he will run into things and just be like, he'll like knock a shoulder and be in severe pain. And just moments like that.
He's not getting off the cornucopia.
He's not getting off. I think if he, by some miracle he did, I think his issue would be he would jump
Yeah.
at things quite quickly.
Yeah.
And I think he would look at it in an aspect, he not necessarily too competitive, but he will rush at decisions, and I think that would be
His downfall. Yeah. No, I completely agree. Yeah.
I'd like to think he would get off the starting pedestal, but
I think
I don't know.
He would be in the opening night of the drum beats.
Oh, Mike Wheeler.
Sorry, Mike Wheeler, but you're not surviving the Hunger Games.
No, I mean, I was gonna say, would it depend on who it? No, it absolutely would not depend on who it. He tripped over a rock and damaged himself. So no, he's not surviving the Hunger Games. No. Okay, let's go Lucas.
Lucas, I think, would get quite far because I feel like Lucas would be quite resourceful, and could look at other things to use as weapons. That's what I think about Lucas. I think because obviously fireworks are explosives, but it's the way that he sees the fireworks in season 3, and he's like, we could use this, and it actually works.
Very Katniss in the book, actually. You know, when they've got the mount.
Yes.
Well, you know, like the food mountain. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
The food mountain they're storing, and she's like, okay, no, I'm gonna use this and get rid of their resources, etc.
Yeah.
I think, I agree. He'd be kind of like that. I don't know if he'd win. I think he could win.
He could win. It would depend who he was in the arena with.
I think with him, I don't know if he would make the kill, essentially. I think he would go to survive, which is what he pretty much does throughout the series anyway. He's more, let's buy us time, let's act on survival. Like season 3 with the fireworks. They know they're not going to do anything, they're there to buy time.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would actually go, I can do this.
Yeah. If it came down to like versus someone else, could he actually kill someone? But I do think he'd get quite far. Like genuinely, I think he would get quite far.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think we've said before that him and Mike are quite similar, but I think both are quite impulsive in a way.
Yeah.
And quite hot-headed in that. But I think out of the two of them, Mike couldn't survive because I think he's just that bit too impulsive. And whereas Lucas will go, I'm going to do this, but then think about it. Mike will kind of go, no, we need to do this. And I think that's why Lucas would get the edge.
Yeah.
Over.
I agree. I think I really don't know about Dustin. I really I've been trying to think about this because we've obviously had I've been trying to think about this because we've had this planned and an idea that we've had for a while that we thought was quite fun. And I really don't know, Dustin is really smart. Obviously we see that from Camp Nowhere, and he can make things, he's quite resourceful, but I again don't know if he could potentially win the Hunger Games. I don't know if he would get that far. But then I think about how he is with Dart and setting that all up and being able to do that. But I still don't know. I think he'd have to have weapons.
Is it Beatty? Is that his name?
Beatty, yeah.
No, yeah. The one that works with all the technology and stuff. I wonder if it will be like him in that situation. Because, I'm going to group him with Will in this, and you understand, we'll focus more on him in a minute. I think both of them two are ones that would wait it out.
Yes.
And they would be ones that would get far, potentially win it.
Yeah.
By doing nothing.
Yeah. Like Haymitch. No, but like Haymitch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that kind of situation. They would work by that way. Actually, I wonder if Dustin would be a Haymitch situation then. Literally that kind of thing. And just very much he helps as much as he can and will work in that team, because I think that's what he is. He's very much in that aspect, isn't he? Very much like we're parties to get it to work. And things only work with him as that glue.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it will be like that then, that his aim will be, me and you are going to get to this point, but it will be almost like that fluke scenario where that's it now, and he wins by that.
And I also think that Dustin would form an alliance, whereas I think Mike and Lucas would possibly try and go at it alone and not trust as much as they could and not trust other people, whereas I think Dustin would be quite likely to join an alliance. I could see that.
Yeah. Saying that though, with Mike, say he did later down the line, I'm only looking at Elle in season 1.
Yeah.
I wonder if he would, if he made it off the cornucopia.
He's not making it off the cornucopia.
If he did, I wonder if he did, but it would be more, would that be his downfall then? It'd be essentially a case of
possibly
we need each other to get far. But then when it comes right down to it, that's what will let him down.
Yeah. No, I could see that. I think Will, or bias aside, genuinely could win. And solely based on his, I don't think he would want to kill anyone, but based on his survival in the Upside Down. He survived in the Upside Down for a week. A whole week.
Yeah.
Like,
and he knows how to use weapons, because we saw the gun.
Yeah, he knows how to use the weapons. He loaded that he knew what to do.
Yeah.
And he's always willing to try and fight something. Like, he's always there ready to kind of do it. And he is very smart. He's very logical, I think, and very strategic. And I do think he could potentially win. I do. I think he could do it, but I think a lot of it would be based on his survival rather than attack.
I think it would be a very specific circumstance if he did, because if you think about that scene in season 3 and the scene that followed that in season 3, that there is that kind of, you can switch kind of thing, and that temper, essentially, whether that comes from a place of emotions or anger, whatever, is there. So, but I do think it will be kind of a survive purely because everyone else died situation.
No, I could see
what
that.
It'd be out survive everyone else.
No, I could say I definitely look more like you said with Dustin as well, Will and Dustin as being like the Hamiches of the group. For those that haven't read the Hunger Games, I mean, we kind of just jumped into this. The Hunger Games is a thing where kids fight in an arena to the death. It's a lot more detailed than I've just made it sound, but that's what it is. But Haymitch is a character who won the Hunger Games at one point, and he literally won it by out surviving everyone else. And then they were at the top of a cliff, and one guy fell, and Haymitch didn't, and that's how Haymitch won.
Yeah, that's literally it.
That is how he won, wasn't it? It was the cliff. That was Haymitch.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, or was he the one where something rebounded?
It rebounded and hit him. Yeah. So I could see them being that. Elle would kill people. I think she would actually like kill people. She would be like a Katniss in the sense so that when she did kill people, I think it would really play on her mind. Like, I don't think she could kill someone and not worry about it, but I think she would kill people.
No, I think she would go on it. Still, I don't know if she would win though.
No, I don't know if she would win.
She could, but I do wonder if she would get to a point where it's like, I can't. And I think it'd be more for other people. And I think she would work in an alliance.
Yeah, she would, yeah.
And it would be more that kind of thing. She wouldn't go alone. She would be with others.
And I wonder
yeah.
I was going to say, I wonder what the limit would be as well. Like, I imagine that she, you know, it would obviously depend on what district she was in. But if there was the careers from districts 1 and 2, if they're really brutal, I think she could kill them because she would see them as bad. But then if there was a character like Rue or someone that showed her niceness, she wouldn't want to kill them.
We were talking before that what would happen if Rue did make it that far? Like, what would Katniss have done? I think that would be a very similar situation with Elle. I think
Katniss would have killed herself.
put her stuff out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, think of season 1 at the end of that, where with the Demogorgon there.
Yeah.
It's a goodbye Mike moment. She would do that. That would be her thing.
She would sacrifice herself to protect, like, because there's no way Katniss would have killed Rue. Not a chance. So yeah, I could see Elle being like Katniss, actually. Like, I would say she's the most Katniss out of all of them. Like, genuinely.
Yeah, I'd argue that as well.
Yeah. No, I could see that. What about Max?
Max, I think, would be in the Dustin and Will camp.
Yeah.
But I think out of Dustin and Max, Max is the one more likely to win it.
Yes, I can see that.
Because if you think how she is in season 2, that with Billy and the Needle, essentially, that I think if it came down to it, she would form an alliance as well, though, I think.
Yeah, I think she would too.
Yeah. If it came down to it, she would protect herself, I think, and not in a bad way.
No.
But in a self-preservation. I think if it was kind of a case, I'm going to paint her in a bad light, and I don't mean to paint her in a bad light. It's not survival of the fittest. It's not that.
No.
But it's that kind of thing of she knows how the world works.
Yes.
She's quite street smart.
Yes.
And knows what it takes to survive. I think that's more what I mean.
No,
she would act with that in mind.
She's been in life situations, which means that she knows how to get through certain things. I could see her kind of being like the one Thresh. Is it Thresh?
Yeah.
The one that's in the same district as Rue.
Yeah.
I could see her being like him, whereas like he could form an alliance early on, but then break the alliance and wouldn't feel too guilty about breaking the alliance because it would be a survival thing. It's like, if I need to get away from you and break this, I'm gonna go. I could see her doing that, and I could see her being able to actually just have that slight edge over Dustin, in the sense that I think if it came down to, okay, there is this person in front of me and I need to kill them immediately, I think she would do it.
I think the only thing that would let her down, though, in terms of it, would be emotions. Like, if we see how she's at the end of season 3, I know that Billy literally died, but that she kind of has that breakdown. Then you have those few moments where she seems to be fine, and then you see the image of her sitting on the bed, just clearly not fine. I think that's something that would let her down. I think it would affect her more than she lets on.
Oh yeah, definitely. She'd come out of that really struggling, I think.
Yeah.
A bit like Peter.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
I could see her being like Peter. And he forms the alliance with the Koreas, which is very smart.
Yeah.
And then he's able to take himself out with it and paint his face looking like a rock.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think more of a Peter situation actually that night. I'd go for that.
I could see her being one of the ones out of all of them as well that could deal with being injured. And I know that sounds really weird, but like a high pain tolerance sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then it also would depend on obviously the arena and also how many sponsors they got. That would also depend, because I think out of all of them, again, I would say Dustin and Will would probably be more likely to get sponsors. Lucas too, maybe.
Depends on what aspect. I would say Will would get less.
Yeah.
I think a crowd would like Dustin.
A crowd would like Dustin. And it's having the like personality kind of smart before the Hunger Games and going in and getting people to like you.
Yeah, where I think Will would go into it with the aspect of, I don't really want to be here.
He'd surprise people in the arena.
Yeah, and I think Jonathan would be in that same camp.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
Where the crowd isn't necessarily going to be there from the beginning.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Dustin would kind of know, I might not get out of this alive, so I need to try and make it my best that I can and get people behind me and do my best.
So would Steve.
Yeah.
Steve would do that too.
One person who would definitely survive that would be Nancy Wheeler.
Yes, she absolutely would. Nancy would win. I can absolutely see Nancy winning the Hunger Games, like straight up.
Yeah.
She'd get off that cornucopia, but she would be smart in the sense that she'd get off the cornucopia, but she wouldn't go straight to the like. She would know.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Nancy would be brilliant. I think Robin would too.
I think Robin would, but in a different way. Robin would figure out how everything works. What's her name? Is it Fox? I want to say Fox.
They call her Foxface. You don't actually find out her actual name. Katniss just refers to her as Foxface.
That's it. More that kind of aspect. So if you don't know, if you haven't read it, she kind of throughout the book, she's always kind of around.
Yeah.
Acting almost in the aspect that she's kind of learning the arena, knowing how this works, knowing what this is. And
she gets really far.
Yeah, her downfall is literally berries. And that's how Katniss knows how to win the Hunger Games, essentially. And I think she would be in that aspect that she would learn how things work, how the arena works, where the borders are, what timing. She would work in that kind of mindset. I think that's why she would get really far, if not win as well.
Like Wirus. TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yes. That's the one who I meant, I think.
Yeah. No, Wirus and Beatty. Wirus and Beatty, they work together. They're friends.
Yeah, I was right. I was right, wasn't I?
Yeah. Beatty is the one that is able to get the voltage and make the voltage to explode the dome, but Wirus is the one that's like, when Katniss is washing her, she's just going TikTok, TikTok, and then Katniss works out that it's a clock. The second arena is a clock. So I could see Robin being like that. I don't know how far Jonathan would get in the arena. I think he would be quite protective, but I think that he would do it in the sense that I don't know if he would put other people before him in that sense. I think
he would. That think about how he is in season 3 when they're in the cabin.
Yeah.
And how his instinct is hands away, Mike that side, Will that side, get back.
Yeah.
And I think he would be like that. Like if you think, if both of them were in the arena at the same time, there is no way that Jonathan is putting himself first. I think if any of them were in the arena at the same time as him, he would be like, I'm protecting you. Whatever happens to me, that's fine. But then saying that, looking at season 3 when he gets hit over the back with chair and
should have been dead.
Jonathan Byer should absolutely be dead.
So should Mike.
Or at least severely paralyzed.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe he'll be a surprise one. Maybe he would win it, but
maybe.
Bionic body aside, I don't think Jonathan would get far. I think he'd kind of try maybe figure out things, but I think he would be skeptical about how things would work. And I think if in a situation with Robin, for example, and she was like, this and this and this, his instinct would be like, that's not the way that this is working.
Yeah.
And that he'd be very logic first over speculation.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Before we move on to the next book, out of all of them, who do you think would be more likely to kill Snow? Well, Coin, but Snow. Who do you think would be the one that
Nancy.
There's
no question about it. Nancy Wheeler would. I mean, I didn't expect. Not gonna lie. I didn't expect to go into this discussion and be like Nancy Wheeler.
Nancy is actually the one as well that would make the decision to not kill Snow and to kill Coin.
Yeah.
She's the one that would make that switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
No one else other than Nancy. No. Mike would miss.
He'd go to 1 arrow and it would just miss completely. It would, to be fair, if it was Mike, it would rebound. It would like hit the wall, rebound and hit him.
Yeah.
That's what would happen if Mike Wheeler was in charge of killing
Mike Wheeler,
the president of Panem.
In fairness, he turns the car over in season 3. Maybe we're not giving him enough credit. He just would not make it off the cornucopia.
He wouldn't make it off the cornucopia.
No. That's the next one.
This one needs a little bit of a disclaimer. Unfortunately, which is really sad. So me and Emily actually know each other because of Harry Potter. That is how we actually are friends. It was 2017.
Unfortunately,
it was different times. Yeah, we were young, we were naive. J.K. Rowling had not shown herself to be the awful human being that she is. So we are going to put a disclaimer here that we are fully aware that J.K. Rowling is awful.
Her views are interesting.
Yeah.
Let's say that.
To essentially erase an entire group of people and say they don't exist. Like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We have seen recently, though, like a lot of discussion on Tumblr about which Hogwarts houses the characters of Stranger Things would be in, and we thought it would be quite an interesting discussion. It's really sad that in order to talk about Harry Potter related things, there does have to be some kind of disclaimer now, because obviously we do not support her in any way, and don't want to do it. This is simply just, it makes sense to talk about Hogwarts houses when you're doing something like this, because
and also it was kind of like a big part of our lives.
It was.
And so for the sake of this, we're gonna detach author from material.
Yeah.
Because books are good. They are good.
Yeah, it was a massive part of since I was 5 years old. It has been the biggest part. It was the biggest part of my life, and it made me really happy for years and years, and it is the reason we know each other, as much as we try and block out the actual reason why we know each other. It is the reason that we're friends. It is. That's how we know each other properly. So really weird, literally just got an email from a fandom subscription box that is titled "You're a Wizard." That literally just came up on my Outlook.
That's a bit creepy.
That's a bit weird, but no, genuinely, it obviously is the reason that we're friends. So let's put them in their Hogwarts houses, because we have retained a lot of Harry Potter information to correctly place them into their Hogwarts houses. In our
Mike is definitely Gryffindor. There is no way around it.
Mike is definitely
biggest Gryffindor going.
Mike is like, it wouldn't even
he's
touch
an Aries, apparently.
Yeah, it wouldn't even touch his head.
The biggest Aries, the biggest Gryffindor. There we
go. It would it wouldn't even. Do you know how when they put it on Malfoy and it just doesn't touch his head barely, and it's just like Slytherin? It would not touch Mike's head. It would be on there for a minuscule of a second, and it would be like Gryffindor. Yeah. Whereas I think if we're going, because obviously it's like families, I think Nancy would be in Slytherin.
I was going to say that. I would agree. I think she would be.
Yeah.
I can kind of see Ravenclaw.
I can see Ravenclaw. I think it would be between them. But I think it would put her in Slytherin ultimately. Just because of the way that she is with things, the way she works out things, and her kind of attitude. I think
the cunningness, essentially. I think, the way that she kind of works, I can see her more Slytherin. Than, because she hasn't quite got the wit. I think that's the thing that would let her down from the Ravenclaw. I think that part of it isn't there. Yeah. I think she would get wound up by a riddle.
Oh my god, that would drive me insane. Like
she would find another way in rather than that. But then I suppose that is also very
Ravenclaw. Yeah. They're very tied. Like Hufflepuff and Gryffindor are very tied, and Ravenclaw and Slytherin are really tied. My Hogwarts house is a Slytherin. I've only ever been put in Slytherin whenever I've done the tests. I was put in Ravenclaw one time. I couldn't actually be in Ravenclaw because I would sleep in the hallway after a night of studying than try and solve that riddle. Like, who thought that your past would be to solve a riddle? Absolutely not. If I've done a hard day of work, if I've had Snape as my teacher, and then I want to go to bed, and all I want to do is go to bed, and then I have to solve a riddle. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I think she'd be the same. I think she'd sneak in rather than, or break in, rather than try and do that riddle, which is why I think she would be in Slytherin.
Lucas, I can see as a Gryffindor as well.
Yeah, I can see.
Then I can also see him as a Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
I think Lucas is very loyal. If you think about him in season 1, as well, with kind of, this is the party, and we're not having outsiders in, that we need to be very that. And then I suppose at the same time, that only goes against the kind of idea that they're welcoming, friendly to all. But
do you ever,
in a different way.
Do you ever think about how Ernie Macmillan is?
Yeah,
because he's a Hufflepuff, right?
Yeah.
And I could see him like that. He's very like, no, to protect ourselves, no. Whereas before that, he was really nice to Harry. And then the second he thinks Harry could be the heir of Slytherin, he's like, get away from me. Yeah, and exactly. I can see Lucas being like, that's like Lucas is like with Elle.
Yeah, it is actually, yeah. I still think I would be tempted to put him there. Cause I think, and it does also kind of fit with what we were saying about him in the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
As well, if you think about it, just would build an alliance and would help and be loyal to you and that kind of thing. I'd be tempted. I think he'd be a toss-up between Gryffindor and Hufflepuff, but I think he would go in Hufflepuff.
I would put him in Hufflepuff. Yeah, I would put him in Hufflepuff. What about Dustin? I want to say Ravenclaw.
I would say Hufflepuff or Ravenclaw.
Yeah. He's an interesting one. He is quite difficult to place.
But then could also be Gryffindor at the same time. I think he's one that kind of would, I think, float between. I think he would be kind of like how Hermione is when it's taking a little while.
Yeah.
Because I think with her, it's either Gryffindor or Ravenclaw, isn't it? They're not sure where to place her.
Yeah.
I think I'm not talking about Hermione, I'm talking about Dustin. I think Dustin would be one that'd be similar in the aspect that it would be very much, you kind of have this trait, this trait, this trait. Maybe leaning slightly more towards Ravenclaw then. Only thinking about how he speaks and how he is.
He has the wit.
Quite witty. And he is one, if you think how he is in season 3 actually with the Russian transmission, they're kind of sitting there and trying to work it out, and I guess that would be that kind of form of riddle.
Yeah. I my brain goes towards Ravenclaw, and it's not because of it's not even my immediate thing of smartness. I just think the way he is with things and his attitude and like wanting to kind of it, because I think the thing with Ravenclaw is it's not even that you're really intelligent, it's more that thirst for knowledge. And I think that's what Dustin has. He wants to know more, like he wants to learn different things and solve different things and know what's going on. Curiosity voyage.
Travel.
He needs his paddles. He's in Ravenclaw, that's what we would say. Will
is not a Hufflepuff.
Not a Hufflepuff. Absolutely not a Hufflepuff.
No. I can kind of see the argument for it.
Yeah. He is loyal.
He's loyal. But at the same time, if you think about how he is in season 3 as well, or even actually no, think about season 2 first of all. He tells specific people what's going on with him.
Yeah.
That he doesn't tell Lucas, doesn't tell Dustin, doesn't really tell his mum until it gets to the point like, no, I actually need to say something now.
Yeah.
And obviously he tells Mike, but that's it. He's very particular in who he can almost trust and speak to, and it's like, this is what I need to do right now. So I would say that leans more towards the Slytherin.
I would put him immediately in Slytherin.
And it sounds weird because of obviously the evil root thing, but it's not because of that. I think it's very much,
Slytherin's not evil.
He knows what he needs to do.
Yeah.
And he will not it's not using people to benefit him. It's not that at all. It's that kind of thing. Is that this is what I need right now, and this is who needs to know about things.
Yeah. I'm wearing a very Slytherin top.
You are actually. I thought that earlier.
Yeah. I mean, I have a ridiculous amount of Slytherin clothes that are in storage, but I should have worn that. But I should have worn robes. I should have worn full robes. No, I would put him in Slytherin. Whenever I think about Will, we actually didn't tell each other what we thought Will was, did we? We both agreed that he wasn't in Hufflepuff. But we didn't say what we thought he was. But I'm glad that we are on the same page, because whenever I think of Will, he is absolutely, without a doubt, a Slytherin. Like his entire attitude from season 1, from the get-go, like the way that he is with everything, his attitude toward like fighting whatever he thinks is following him, and then his kind of the way his survivalness and that kind of thing, like immediately I would put him in Slytherin, because Slytherins are smart as well. Like that's something that people don't talk about. Like, isn't it that aside from Hermione, who's the top of the year, the person under her is Draco?
It was for a bit, I think, actually.
Yeah.
Like Draco is up there.
Yeah. And like Slytherin's, like, if you think about it, like if you think about, I don't want to give him credit because he's not nice, but like Snape is smart, and the way that he's able to kind of trick the most, like, even when he is killed by Voldemort, Voldemort still thinks Snape was on his side.
Yeah.
To the end, he thinks that. And Slughorn, for example, very smart, very smart. Regulus Black, arguably, also very smart, was also able to trick Voldemort.
Yeah.
Right? Voldemort himself, very clever.
I think even Harry himself, it was, I know obviously the Horcrux situation.
Harry should have been in Slytherin though, like, don't even get me started.
I think he could have been in there quite easily.
Not Stranger Things related, but if we're talking about Slytherins, Ginny should have been in Slytherin, and that is a hill I will die on. Anyway, continue, Will.
Yeah, but no, and like, very obviously in season 2, it's very Slytherin. Very obviously, by the way, but then that's the Mind Flayer. The Mind Flayer's in Slytherin. That's just
the Mind Flayer's is
bonus one.
The Demogorgons in Hufflepuff. No, anyway, continue.
Yeah, but like if you think about even that journey through there, and that moment when him and Mike are kind of sitting there, and he's like, "Well, what if this happens?" And it's like, okay, well, we'll do this. Argue then. That also an argument for Mike to be in Slytherin.
Yeah,
only in that moment there, but
there's kind of like the Harry situation, isn't it?
Yeah. But like that kind of thing. Well, actually, I can see Mike in Slytherin.
I can see him in Slytherin, but I think he's a bit too impulsive. I think the impulsivity would push him into the Gryffindor.
Yeah,
because
I think that's what it would be doing.
Will's not impulsive. Will thinks on things. Will sit there and think on something for a while. I think.
Yeah. Max
is an interesting one for me.
I don't know if we know enough about Max.
No.
That's the issue, I think, with her. That if you think about how we saw her in season 2 and then how we saw her in season 3, they're the same, but they're also quite different.
Yeah. My brain is torn, weirdly, between Slytherin and Hufflepuff, which is a rare toss-up.
I'm slightly more inclined to go Gryffindor.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I did wonder Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
And Slytherin, but I thought, if I think about how she is in season 3, and like the Elle getting to the mall situation, and she didn't push Elle to use her powers. That was all Elle wanted to do herself. Just throwing that tidbit in. But if you think about how she is with that, it's very much like she can do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of, even though she's not pushing it, it's like encouraging in the way, like, let's make some mischief, let's do this, let's do that. Which, if you think about how even Fred and George, it's that kind of,
she's very maraudery.
Yeah,
she's very maraudery, actually, except Peter Pettigrew, who's a piece of trash, but she's very maraudery in that sense. Like, I could kind of get serious vibes from her.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. As in Sirius Black, not serious as in like,
no, yeah,
like, let's be serious for a moment. Sirius Black.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for the clarification.
Just for the clarification, just in case. I mean, some people might not have read Harry Potter. Like, we kind of like, I always assume that everyone will have always read and known about Harry Potter, but some people literally don't care. So, you know, no, I kind of can get serious vibes from her, and I could see her. Yeah, I could see her being in Gryffindor. Now, when you sort of explain it like that, I can see that. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I will admit defeat with that one. You've done a good case through there.
Thank you.
What do you think about Elle, right? Because with Elle, my logic would be Slytherin, but not in the same way that I would say Will is a Slytherin. I would say Elle is more of a Slytherin because Elle does have that ability to use other people for her own gain.
I go Hufflepuff. Yeah, very different.
Very different. I mean, actually, no. Friends don't lie.
All of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the loyalty within that. Think about what she's like when all her thing is that I'm going back to my friends.
Yeah.
And as soon as she sees kind of what's going down with Mike et al.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I need to go back. I can't be with them because I'm loyal to these people.
Yeah.
And all of that kind of thing. That's what I would argue with her.
No, I think, yeah, no, you are right with that. I think my only thing with the Slytherin is like, she left the cabin and would like use the guy in the truck to get the lift, and would like, she knows how to use certain aspects of life for her own benefit and not for anyone else's benefit. In that aspect, that was my logic for Slytherin. But you are right in the sense that when she does then have her friendships, she is really loyal to them, and that is like her thing, and she will protect them. But then Slytherins can be quite loyal as well.
Yeah, I think she would be.
That's an interesting toss-up. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think she would be between the two of them, because if you think about it, even though she is kind of doing that, like, need to do this, need to do that, it is all kind of aimed around one.
But it's always
like,
to
loyalty,
to help
family, just to help, that kind of thing. So I think she is between the two. That's how I would.
Let's go Hufflepuff. Yeah, let's go Hufflepuff.
Oh gosh, we've got like 2 out of 6.
Well done.
Not doing too bad.
Jonathan.
I don't know, Jonathan.
Me neither. I'm actually really stuck with Jonathan.
I can see Hufflepuff.
I can see Hufflepuff.
I can see Slytherin.
Because Joyce is a Slytherin.
Yeah, Joyce.
So we're not going to go into that. So Joyce is a Slytherin. We've said Will could be a Slytherin. So maybe Jonathan also is. Like, I think if you do think about the way he is with kind of family and that kind of like kind of those attitudes, and also he does kind of like keep to himself. He is quite like, I am very specific at who I trust and who I tell people, like what I tell people and who I tell, like you said, kind of very similar to Will in that sense. And that is that loyalty, but it's not broad loyalty, it's specific loyalty.
And I think how he is in season 3, we've already had like this discussion before with Nancy and Jonathan and the work situation, that his logic is, well, you need to deal with the real world.
Yeah.
Because you're ruining this for me, essentially. And I've really like dumbed that down.
No.
That's essentially what it is. And it is very much for him and how it's going to benefit him. Even with the funeral situation, even when Joyce is very, he's alive, we need to figure this out. He's very much like, you need to stop because this isn't just impacting you now.
Yeah.
It's also impacting me. Yeah. And it's that kind of, and not in a horrible way. No. But like you need to kind of see the bigger picture, because right now this is very, you're being ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I could see Slytherin. Like genuinely I could see Slytherin. And I think the people that he kind of does have, like you said, like with like arguing with Joyce and that kind of thing, like I can see them also being like, so like also being Slytherin, but the arguments they have, like it's more like you have to sort this out, like you have to get in the real world for a second and actually figure this out.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I kind of get Slytherin vibes from Jonathan.
He's tricky because
he is tricky.
He can fit into a few things.
Yeah, he can.
I think.
He can. I could also put him in Gryffindor.
Yeah, I could put in Gryffindor. I wouldn't say. I was going to say Hufflepuff, but I don't think I could say Hufflepuff.
I don't think I would put him in Hufflepuff.
Because he's only loyal with specific people, I think.
It's a Slytherin loyalty.
If you're in that circle, if you're in that circle, then you're in that circle.
Yeah.
But I think
that's how I kind of felt with Elle. But then the more you explained it, her loyalty is more Hufflepuff loyalty.
Yeah.
Whereas
Jonathan, sorry.
Yeah. Where Jonathan is a Slytherin loyalty, and I think that's the same with Will.
But yeah, I can see the Gryffindor argument as well. Like as we said before with Hunger Games situation, he would put himself before others. So if it meant him getting hurt, then that's what he would do rather than that, which is very Gryffindor. I think that kind of jumps into the action rather than kind of sits back, assesses, and then goes. That he would defend before attack.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get that. I could see that. Should we put him Slytherin? Should we make the final decision?
I'll let you have this one. With
Slytherin! Two. What have we got? Steve and Robin? Is that it?
Steve and Robin.
Okay, Steve. Let's do Steve. I want to say Hufflepuff.
I'm tempted by Hufflepuff. That was my first thought.
I think Hufflepuff for Steve. I just think, like you said, his loyalty, I think, is more Hufflepuff loyalty. It's more it's more like, you are my people now. And that is it. Exactly. Whereas I think Slytherin loyalty is, it takes me a bit longer to warm up to you and figure this out. Whereas, which actually, the more I talk about the difference between Hufflepuff loyalty and Slytherin loyalty, the more I am like, you are correct in Elle is in Hufflepuff, which is bizarre. But like genuinely, like the more I think about it, it is like how quickly she trusts Mike. And I know that comes from obviously like the trauma situation, but she is very loyal to him straight away. And but then she still is loyal kind of ish to Brenna. Like she still has those ties. He's still Papa. Like that's still there. Whereas I think Slytherin loyalty is a bit more specific and a bit more thought out and takes a bit longer. Whereas I do think Steve is like, it is kind of like once you're there, you're there. Like, you know, him and Nancy break up, but he's still there with her. He's still loyal to her. He will still help her, and he'll help Jonathan in relation to that, because he's loyal to Nancy and Nancy now has Jonathan, so obviously he's gonna help Jonathan.
Exactly. He's also a good finder.
He is.
We'll leave that reference there, see if anyone gets it.
I think sort of the way he is with Dustin and all the kids, really. Yeah, I liked that
Dustin's
reference.
Also that was a good finder.
He is. Robin. See, Robin's an interesting one to me. because when I was thinking this through, my first thought was Slytherin, but I don't think she is Slytherin. I would put Robin in Ravenclaw. I think she would get fun out of
My first thought is Ravenclaw for Robin. I think that's where my mind goes.
She
no
would
real explanation.
Thrive on those riddles. She would love being in Ravenclaw. Ravenclaw is her, like, she would thrive in that house.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's where her place is. She's an easy one.
Like, she's cunning.
Yeah.
I would say she's cunning, and I think that's why my brain was kind of like,
but she's also got the wit.
But she's got the wit, she's the thirst for knowledge. Like, she is a Ravenclaw, like, through and through, I think. Like, and they are very similar.
Yeah. Like, she doesn't really know what Dustin and Steve are doing. The first thing she's like is, well, can I have a go then?
Yeah, I want to do it. I'm bored, so I'm going to solve a Russian like, that's so Ravenclaw. That's the type of stuff Luna would do.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly, yeah. The way she's, I mean, if the shoes are canon, the way she's decorated all her shoes, just make everything just that bit more her personal. I think, Robin's a Ravenclaw.
She's a Ravenclaw. Obviously, with Hogwarts houses, there are crossovers with the houses. Like, I think as well, obviously, you get put in your house when you are 11, and you have to be there until you are 17. There is the debate of, when you get put into a house originally, is it who you are at 11, or does the Sorting Hat know who you will become? Which obviously so many different theories around the Sorting Hat process, and like, there are crossovers with different ones. But yeah, it's fun to try and place people. I've only ever had Slytherin. I had Ravenclaw once.
I'm a complicated situation. I've been everything but Hufflepuff. I think I was always Gryffindor for a while. Then it put me in Ravenclaw. And then I did it, I say recently, it was like a couple of years ago, I did it again, then it said Slytherin. So I often get Gryffindor or Ravenclaw. I never get
I would put
I don't know what that says about me.
I would put you in Gryffindor or Ravenclaw, but then I can see you as a Slytherin. I mean, be in Slytherin with me so that we would be in the same house. Also, can we just say, before we wrap this up, Max and Mike both being in Gryffindor, the common room arguments.
We'd love to see it. Would they have been technically? Oh no, they would have, wouldn't they? They would have been a crossover maybe for when Harry was there.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they would have just. I think they would have been in 7th year when he was starting.
Oh my god, the idea that they're all in their final year and like they're just like, we're just trying to take our newts, and this little kid has just appeared and he's ruining everything.
Yeah, because Mike Wheeler would absolutely say that.
Oh, Mike Wheeler would despise Harry Potter.
I mean, I think the dates line up. I'm sure it's something like that. It's around there.
When was Harry's first year? Was 91, right?
Yeah.
So
there would have been a little bit of crossover, I think.
So
maybe like a year.
14 and 86. 87, 15, 89, 88, 16, 89, 17, no.
Oh,
2 years out.
Well, regardless, still would have hated him.
Erica would have been. And Holly.
Yeah. Well,
Holly? Maybe not Holly, actually. Maybe not
Holly
just, but...
is just weirdly young.
Holly was not a baby that was planned. Erica would be there though. Erica, oh my god, can you imagine Erica just trying to get through her life at Hogwarts and just being like,
who's this kid?
The party and stuff would be there when like Bill and Charlie were there.
Yeah, they'd have that kind of business. So
There we go. We have realized that this is a ridiculously long podcast, and we still have a lot of things that we could get through to discuss. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the Stranger Things X YA thing into a two-parter. How do you like that, everyone? A two-parter.
And we will also put the season 3 opinions at the end of the second half, because unless you want to sit here and listen for what is currently on my microphone, 1 hour and 7 minutes.
Like, we could easily, this could be a 2-hour long podcast. Longer, easily. Maybe longer.
Gonna be a bit funny to sit down and just edit.
Yeah.
So
we don't want to do that. We're gonna split it, and you get extra time. So look at that. There you go. Thank you for listening to this. Just such random but such fun. I've had so much fun discussing these things. This is so cool, and I'm excited for part 2 because it's interesting to place them in other worlds, because as someone that reads a lot and is involved with lots of different fandoms, I really love the concept that the things I love exist at the same time as other things.
Yeah.
Like, I really love that. I love crossovers. I just love kind of the theory that other things exist at the same time. Like, the idea of the party being in Hogwarts at the same time as Bill and Charlie Weasley just gives me a joy that, you know, I enjoy such things. So this is really fun, and I can't wait for the second part. But we'd love to know your opinions on what house they're in. Would they survive the Hunger Games? And also, for part 2, if there's any other books, suggest them, because they might not be ones we've got on our list. So,
because it was surprisingly harder
than we thought.
Yeah. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher at Hawkins Do You Copy. I'm really mixing this up for this last
You
one.
are. It's wild.
What happens when you go on for 1 hour and 9 minutes
about Hogwarts houses.
So you can catch us there at Hawkins Do You Copy. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Hawkins Podcast, and then on Instagram and not on Instagram, and then on Tumblr and YouTube at Hawkins Do You Copy.
Thank you guys for, there you go. I love that. Well done, because it's been a while. So well done.
It has been a while.
We love it. Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of Hawkins Do You Copy, and we will see you next time. Over and out.